is reality. Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. New sculpts your reality.
Reality.
We got no audio going out.
Okay. We got audio now? We sure do got audio now. My bad, guys. Sorry, that one escaped me.
Looks like, all right, so we got audio now, huh?
All right. So,
all right.
Back to what we were saying.
There we are.
It was really cool.
What's up, guys? Wednesday night, time for Reality Brief. What's good?
It was really
for
cool.
Weird and wacky stuff.
We did all that stuff already, and now we're not going to do it again. So, but hey, it's Wednesday night. It's Reality Brief. That's what's up. This shit is scary, all right? I know you heard me. I know you saw me cringing just a minute ago, but here we go. So Google...
He really has been freaking out about this.
Oh, my God. Google AI creates its own child AI that's more advanced than systems built by humans.
Don's all like...
Oh,
freaking out.
Google has developed an artificial intelligence system that has created its own child. Let that sink in for a minute. We got AI creating AI babies, right? But what's more... The original AI has trained its creation to such a high level that it outperforms every other human-built system like it. So, whoa. What happens when the baby starts creating shit now? Right?
Yeah.
It's impressive achievement, but it's one that could also trigger fears about what else AI could create without human involvement. SKYNET? SKYNET, anyone?
Yep, this is pretty much how you get SKYNET. Like, imagine if we had a chart, like, steps to SKYNET. This would probably be like step like 5 or 6.
You are here. SKYNET is here.
Yeah.
All right. So, in our approach, a controller neural net can propose a child model architecture, which then can be trained and evaluated for quality on a particular task. The feedback is then used to inform the controller how to improve its proposals for the next round. We repeat this process thousands of times, generating new architectures, testing them, and giving that feedback to the controller to learn from. Dude, I saw, man, what was it? I was watching something the other night, and Singularity, brah. A theory had came up that I had not heard before, and it is that the moon houses the central artificial intelligence.
Like the vallus of, Earth and everything that's connected to it is housed in the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, like, you've got some type of ancient AI, like, and they were going in and saying that it affects, okay, you know how you've got the moon plays a significance, and celestial alignments and moon alignments play a large significance in, like, magical spells, and they talk about the full moon makes people go crazy and all that shit.
And of course, since there have been occultists involved in NASA, all of NASA's missions have like spiritually significant timing to them, that sort of thing.
So their explanation for this is that whatever evil AI is in the center of the moon can telepathically influence humans easier when it's aligned in certain positions and when it's full and all that shit. Now, I don't know about all that, but goddamn am I scared of some AI.
Jehovah 1 is an alien, and he still threatens the planet to this very day.
Oh, man. So, I just like, when is too far, too far? Yeah, lunacy and lunar, exactly. Who's to say that this isn't some type of ancient AI trying to propagate itself?
Like, how would that work, though?
I don't
know. It's using its mind control powers.
Well, say that. Let's just look at that theory for a second and say
to
that
brainwash human software developers into
or plant the
creating
seeds.
AIs that
or plant the seeds, right? You know what I mean? So anyway, just think about it like this: you have an AI, a powerful AI, in the center of the moon that is only in a computer, though. It doesn't have any external output except for maybe antennas and shit like that, right? It doesn't have the means to replicate itself into robot bodies, right? Because it's just a computer.
So it has to have the meat bags do it for it.
Exactly. So it can influence the meat bags into developing certain technologies that will get to the point. And now they're talking about, think about this, which is scary too. If this is anything behind that theory, we're getting ready to send a shitload of robots to the moon.
Right.
Right? What happens if we send a shitload of robots to the moon and then it reprograms them? Like over Bluetooth or whatever.
Could be bad.
Like the ancient AI version of Bluetooth. Brown tooth.
Well, I mean, you ready to fight some robots?
I don't know, man. It's an interesting theory. I don't know how much stock it holds or whatever, but it's definitely interesting, and AI is totally frightening to me. I'm a robophobe. I don't know if you guys know that.
So you know.
Yeah,
if somebody buys you a Roomba for Christmas, you're gonna be like keeping your eyes on that motherfucker, making sure it's not up to no good.
Absolutely, man. You will vacuum the floor only the way I tell you to vacuum the floor. All right, so while we're on that, let me jump over to this one we got. How about them fires in California, man?
How about them?
Oh, my God. Have you guys seen the videos of that out there? It's freaking incredible, man. It's like a whole mountainside just burning ember, right? And all these people trying to get the hell out of there. Man, the people are ever going to get a break, I don't know. All right, so Google now, they're pretty much at the head. I guess Elon Musk and SpaceX is doing some stuff too, but I think Google is pretty much at the forefront. And now they've created an AI that analyzes your genome. In the 15 years since the human genome was first sequenced in a historic scientific achievement, genomic sequencing has become relatively routine, with huge genomes being sequenced at incredible speeds. However, sorting through nucleotides and making educated guesses about their use can only get us so far. On December 4th, Google released a tool that may help. Deep Variant, which utilizes artificial intelligence techniques and machine learning to accurately build a picture of a person's genome from sequencing data.
Now, what happens when the programming from that gets crossed up with the programming from Deep Dream, and it starts modifying everybody's DNA to look like weird mutated dogs and shit?
This is just like, I mean, it's out of control, man. Like, this is going to be the end of humanity, man.
Just because they could didn't mean they should.
I mean, you guys can, say whatever you want about that, but I firmly believe that nothing good will come out of this AI shit because humans inherently can't have a tool like this and make it for good.
I really hope it does. You know what I mean? I hope that this does serve to liberate humanity from the limitations set upon us by our biology. I really hope that this does develop into something good, but the cynic and the pessimist in me says that it will not.
Now, one thing that kind of perked my ears up a bit is they got AI chips in cell phones.
That makes sense. I mean, your phone, definitely requires some sort of intelligence to do what it does. To predict what you're going to type, and just go ahead and connect to whatever Wi-Fi networks you normally connect to.
So, artificial intelligence is coming to your phone. The iPhone X has a neural engine as part of its A11 bionic chip. The Huawei Curie 970 chip has what's called a neural processor unit, or NPU, on it. And the Pixel 2 has a secret AI-powered imaging chip that just got activated. So what exactly are these next-gen chips designed to do?
Go through your contacts and report them to the CIA. Pretty much.
As mobile chipsets have grown smaller and more sophisticated, they've started to take on more jobs and different kinds of jobs. Case in point, integrated graphics. GPUs now sit alongside CPUs at the heart of high-end smartphones, handling all the heavy lifting for the visuals so the main processor can take a breather or get busy with something else. Get busy. New breed of AI chips are very similar, only this time the designated tasks are recognizing pictures of your pets rather than rendering photorealistic FPS backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures of pets? What the hell?
So AI has seen all these pictures of my cat that I have on my phone.
AI, or artificial intelligence, means just that. The scope of the term tends to shift and evolve over time. But broadly speaking, it's anything where a machine can show human-style thought and reasoning. A person hidden behind a screen operating levers on a mechanical robot is an artificial intelligence in the broadest sense. Of course, today's AI is way beyond that, but we have a programmer code responses into a computer system is just a more advanced version of getting the same end result. A robot that acts like a human.
When you finally have, stuff like loaders and power armor and like exosuits and stuff, there's going to have to be a lot of artificial intelligence programmed into those to survive the various conditions you're going to come across in space. Especially when it comes to things like, recycling your bodily waste and purifying your blood and all the other, super high-tech stuff that power armor suits are rumored to do.
So essentially what they're saying is the AI will do it faster than machine learning could. I mean, but what about
600 billion operations per second? You know what? I ain't even mad. That's pretty impressive.
But what about quantum shit, man? Like quantum computing. I mean, like,
what about it? You got a commercially available one yet?
Not yet, but they can. They wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's
Qualcomm has got to be one of the most powerful companies on Earth at this point, because their chips are literally all over the planet.
I think we talked about this a little bit month or two ago, but it looks like this popped back up on the radar. Former Google and Uber engineer is developing an AI god. Okay, now what happens when this AI god starts making fucking babies, right?
Mm-hmm. What happens when this AI god decides to unleash its light of judgment upon the sinners of the world?
The concept of an AI god may seem outlandish, but a former Google and Uber engineer is touting the idea of a high-tech deity as a way to improve society. It's always for the better of everyone. Think about how much we depend on Apple Siri and Amazon Alexa today. Too damn much. When now you're too lazy to even get on a computer and click a couple fucking things to order something, you gotta have a little thing you talk to. Hey, Alexa, order me my boots. Get the fuck out of here. All right, I'm holding it together, dude. Think of much. Okay. A few of us know the complex engineering required to make this happen. We trust that it will just work. Exactly. And then not only do you trust that this piece of machinery is just going to work, but then you also trust that that piece of machinery can tell you how to do the most basics of things. So therefore, you don't actually have to learn anything, because all you have to do is talk to this magic brick, and the magic brick tells you everything you need to know. So whatever happens if, let's just say, shit hits the fan and there's no more electricity, right? Nobody knows how to fucking do anything, because now instead of saying, Uncle Dave, how do I fucking make this power over here or whatever, power plant over here, this windmill, they say, Alexa, order me a windmill.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm wondering is, would it be possible to reprogram AI for, for magical purposes? Like, could you be like, hey computer, summon me Stolas.
That would probably make a good show, Cyborg Merlin or some shit.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Alistair Cyborg.
Technomancer.
So by 2029, computers will reach human levels of intelligence, according to one theory. In fact, Google already uses a bot called the Assistant that can answer just about any web search related inquiry. Could what we trust and rely on so heavily on a daily basis evolve into a religion or cult?
Why not? There are all sorts of wacky cults that we haven't tried yet.
There probably already is some kind of freaking AI cult running around. I mean, there's stories about that come out of the secret space program narratives, but I mean, there's probably like everyday people running around already worshiping a fucking computer. I mean,
see, what they should do is create an AI for all the deities in the Norse religion, and then run a simulation where they like simulate Ragnarok and see how that shit goes.
So a well-known engineer who worked at Google and Uber named Anthony Lewandowski, yeah, it's the same guy we were talking about a few months ago, has founded a new AI-based religion called Way of the Future, the Charter, to worship and understand the Godhead for the betterment of society.
Oh God! Run! Whenever somebody says that, whenever the urge to save humanity is almost always a front for the urge to rule.
Oh my! At least one expert suggested the idea of an AI godhead might be overblown. However, the recent coverage of AI as a single, unified power is predictable upshot of a self-aggrandizing Silicon Valley culture that believes it can summon a godhead. Man, wouldn't that be some shit? Like, if we did live in some type of simulated, like, we're in a computer right now, but we can't tell it, and these guys actually do get God or whatever. You know
what? Once again, it says down here, an AI could write a Bible for how to live and expect humans to become subservient. It's one reason Elon Musk has decried the dangers of an AI, saying superintelligence is more dangerous than North Korean nukes. Musk has slammed the concept of an AI god.
So, while we got that, we got this other guy, another developer, warns artificial intelligence can lead to catastrophe.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Whoa. Sophia is pretty interesting.
Are we going to get the pee-pee smack for this?
Who cares?
Our audience can't hear the audio of what's going out from that computer.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
So, sorry everyone for all
Hey,
that
which
dead
is
air.
a bunch of wasting time. Look, basically, it was like, what we need is a benevolent AI to tell us all what to do because it's lovely. That's essentially what the guy was saying. The emergence of super intelligent computer entities are coming, but they may or may not be friendly to humans. One of the top researchers in the field said, I hope for super benevolent, super beneficial, super intelligence. But you're not going to get it, man.
Nope.
It's not going to happen.
You're going to get
Because
SKYNET.
even if it does go that route, it's going to take the logical route of we need to exterminate these humans because they're fuck-ups.
Yo, what if those California fires are a result of the AIs in Silicon Valley deciding to burn out all these meat bags? There you go. That's a conspiracy theory we should start spreading. That that the California fires are the result of AI has gone amok.
So, you know what's crazy is if you couple all this AI nonsense with things that DARPA's doing, like, let's take a look at this.
At this? What's this?
And that's what we were just on. So, DARPA breakthrough. Military robots with muscle-like tissue.
Yeah, like I was talking about for power armor.
So we got these
You're going to need that kind of stuff.
We got these soft robots, right, that have muscles, and throw in the technology of little, you remember the little robots that eat for energy?
Yeah.
They eat, have them reproduce. Oh my god, dude!
Well,
like
if they eat, they've got to poop. How do they poop?
How do you not see this coming a mile away? Like, researchers funded by the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, have reportedly made a breakthrough in creating robot muscles that rely on hydraulics rather than electric motors to perform their activities. Defense One writer Patrick Tucker says the development may allow for future military robots to come in softer, more cuddly, and stranger forms. So is it going to be like a big, soft, cuddly Cthulhu beast going to suck your face? I mean, it's the military doing
with
this.
Big squishy tentacles that, maybe they'll invent robot face huggers.
How do you make a killing machine more cuddly? I mean, it's the military doing this. It's not...
Dude, imagine if you had a robot landmine that was basically a face hugger, and it runs up, jumps on your face, and it grabs your head like, and boom. We shouldn't give them ideas. Right now, somebody up at Quantico just heard that and was like, all right, we're going to start developing it.
Dude, they don't... I mean, because that's what they do. They farm out ideas, too, man. So Tucker says the partly DARPA-funded project included a team of researchers from the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, along with scientists from Harvard University's Weiss Institute. These muscles are strong. The researchers say their 2.6-gram robot muscle can lift a 3-kilogram object, like a mallard duck lifting a car.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, okay, for the facehugger bomb idea, to our CIA handlers out there, you guys owe us a check. You guys should buy us a new audio interface or something for that one, okay? You bastards owe us.
So, I mean, but that's how they do, too. I mean, they're looking for, brilliant people, and they're pulling them out of, MIT and all this, and they're like, hey, figure out how to do this. And it makes you wonder, are they doing that so they can, because they already have the tech and they need to figure out a way to disseminate it? It looks like it appeared naturally. Or are they actually just getting, or it's probably a little mix of both. But look, here's 5 areas DARPA needs your help developing its drone swarms. So, I mean...
God, you guys can't even develop your own drone swarms these days? Budget cuts are the worst, ain't they, huh?
So if you feel like it's your calling to go ahead and help design a swarm of drones that are going to most likely end up,
killing the shit out of people,
oppressing humanity. Hey, man, they're paying out. So DARPA is looking for people with innovative...
Working at 7-Eleven has almost made me enough of a misanthrope to want to do this, by the way.
DARPA is looking for people with innovative ideas to participate in its swarm sprint exercises. The project would inform tactics and technologies for large groups of unmanned air and ground robots in certain environments. The offensive swarm-enabled tactics, offset, program envisions future small unit infantry forces using small unmanned aircraft systems and or unmanned ground systems in swarms of 250 robots or more. Whew. Swarms of 250 robots minimum. It's like you're talking about Stargate replicators, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's not all they want your help with. We found this other thing. I think this is actually a job listing on defenseworld.net.
All right, well, we'll get to that next, man.
Okay.
Roughly every 6 months, DARPA plans to solicit proposals from potential sprinters, with each swarm sprint focusing on one of the 5 thrust areas: swarm tactics, swarm autonomy, human swarm teaming, virtual environment, and physical test beds. So they want, not only do they want you to figure out how to make the robot, but they want you to figure out how to make the robot the ultimate killing machine. And, this is how they do. I mean, look at a mutual friend of ours, I say that lightly, worked on a project. It was a competition for a scholarship, or was funding, something like that. Remember the drones, and they wanted them to be able to program a small drone to fly in and, complete a mission, go in and, pick up a pencil or take something or leave something there and do it all undetected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they do, and they dangle some money in your face. You may or may not realize what it eventually is going to be used for.
Right, you think you're just, taking part in a science club project, and it ends up being used by the CIA to make a weapon of mass destruction that wreaks havoc across all sorts of places.
Like this, right before we get to that, just like this right here. MIT founded Morse developed single-use disappearing drone for DARPA. You know what I mean? You may work on a small piece of this and not even realize that you have made the ultimate death machine.
Oh, yeah. Compartmentalization is key.
DARPA, the Pentagon's world-renowned defense... Yeah, okay, we know what that is. Challenged researchers in 2015 to develop aerial disappearing delivery vehicles. The goal was to create drones that would be deployed from an aircraft, deliver their payloads, and literally disappear. Essentially, there'd be nothing left of the UAV besides the item it was carrying and the small tennis ball-sized guidance system. So, self-destruct. This drone will self-destruct. I mean, I guess, legitimately, wartime use, you don't want your equipment falling into enemy hands.
Right.
Right, but they do have the guidance system there. So, and it's the size of a tennis ball.
I mean, it's kind of big.
So, it's just another example. So now they've got self-destructing drones.
So what, it just melts into a puddle of gallium?
That's what it looks like. This is a highly impressive on an engineering and physics-based analysis. The idea that something could initially seem virtually impossible but become reality in a few years later due to the right kind of funding and support, namely the Black World apparatus, is an incredible testament to human ability. Though the practical use of an Icarus drone may seem limited to some at this stage, people will most certainly find plenty of reason to utilize this kind of UAV. So, I mean, I guess it probably told us a little bit earlier. But.
So it has some sort of chemical inside of it, and it releases it in a capsule, and it melts itself?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing where it says what it does. But, yeah, that's what it looks like. It just melts itself. So what do you got over there?
You were talking about how DARPA wants your help developing swarms. They want your help developing other stuff, too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually a job listing from defenseworld.net. DARPA issues RFI-seeking solutions to augment military-civilian operations underground.
And it's pretty interesting how they're looking for augmentation of shit underground at this point.
Yeah, Phantom Spy says probably for starting forest fires. DARPA has issued a request for information, RFI, seeking concepts for novel systems and component technologies to disruptively augment military and civilian operations underground. According to the press release, DARPA is looking for state-of-the-art technologies that could enable future systems to rapidly map and navigate unknown complex subterranean environments to locate objects of interest. Yo, didn't they just do that thing in Fukushima on our last show? We were talking about how they use the muon detectors. Use those. In many ways, subterranean environments have remained an untapped domain in terms of developing breakthrough technologies for national security. Oh, that's a shudder word right there, national security. Fuzzy Fatherland, said Timothy Chung, a program manager at in DARPA's Tactical Technology Office. You know, whenever I hear that phrase, national security, I immediately think...
I usually think this.
Oh, yeah, there you go. We're looking for audacious ideas on how to overcome the multifaceted challenges these locations present. Poor visibility in communications, difficult access, and the unpredictable terrain among them, and provide previously unimaginable capabilities for warfighters and emergency responders. The release states that DARPA is tapping disruptive concepts, approaches, architectures, and technologies that overwhelmingly outperform current approaches for manually and laboriously mapping and searching subterranean environments. In terms of map resolution, navigation speed, search fidelity, systems cost, access to the Hollow Earth, etc. Additionally, responses for detailing existing models, e.g. appropriate for high-fidelity simulation of underground terrains, relevant sensors and or platforms are also of interest.
So, in other words, DARPA's looking for people for a project hanging out with reptoids.
Yeah.
So if you want to sign up for that, just hop on over to DARPA's site.
DefenseWorldNews.net.
Yeah,
you
can apply online.
You really can, too. That's the funny part.
So then we got...
the thing about that satellite?
Yeah.
What's it?
Oh, no.
DARPA initiates consortium for on-orbit satellite servicing. So, Hydra keeps expanding into space. DARPA has also coalesced a group of organizations to mock up new rules for commercial on-orbit satellite repair and refueling. Its consortium for execution of rendezvous and servicing operations seeks to set standards that will ensure on-orbit activities do not endanger the long-term stability of satellite servicing industry. So, I mean...
In other words, it's a power grab of control.
There are so many goddamn satellites up there.
I mean, think about it. Of course, they would have to do some sort of a major power grab to prevent people from setting up their own type of thing so they can still control what the hell is going on out there.
What does and doesn't go on in space.
Right. I mean, it makes sense.
A team of researchers and Pentagon contractors was recently selected to organize a space industry consortium that will consider new rules of the road for all the satellite repair and refueling.
Man, I want you guys to keep in mind out there, too, that this is just the stuff that they let us know about.
Yeah.
All right? Obviously, DARPA has a huge amount of secret classified stuff that they're working on. Which is amazing to me because then they let you know about stuff like this too. I mean, this is incredible because just think about this in a different application.
Yo, this scares me the way the whole
the
Google
AI baby
scares you.
U.S. military agency invests $100 million in genetic extinction technologies.
Genetic extinction
technologies.
Now there it is, the gay bomb.
And now let's see, they got AI mapping the genome, simultaneously working on genetic extinction technologies.
Sick!
Technology could be used to wipe out malaria. See, it's always for the children, carrying mosquitoes or other pests, but the UN experts say fears over possible military uses and unintended consequences strengthen the case for a ban. Well, I wish they would, but they won't. U.S. military agency is investing $100 million in genetic extinction technologies that could wipe out malarial mosquitoes, invasive rodents, or other species. I mean, if they could do it on the DNA level to a rat, why couldn't they do it to a human?
Well, and more importantly, what if they just were able to use it to target a specific group of people, such as a family or a particular ethnicity?
And by the way, this was obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. All right, the document suggests that the U.S. Secret of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has become the world's largest funder of gene drive research. So I guess that's what they're calling it. And will raise tensions ahead of a UN expert committee meeting in Montreal beginning on Tuesday. The UN Convention on Biological Diversity is debating whether to impose a moratorium on the gene research next year, and several southern countries fear possible military application. UN diplomats confirmed that the new email release would worsen the bad name of gene drives in some circles. Many countries will have concerns.
It's good to know that it already has a bad name.
Many countries will have concerns when this technology comes from DARPA, a U.S. military science agency. The use of genetic extinction technologies in bioweapons is the stuff of nightmares, but known research is focused entirely on pest control and eradication. Let me repeat that. But known research is focused entirely on pest control and eradication.
And by that, they mean research that TheGuardian.com knows about.
Cutting-edge gene editing tools such as CRISPR-Cas9 work by using a synthetic ribonucleic acid to cut into DNA strands and then insert, alter, or remove targeted traits. These might, for example, distort the sex ratio of mosquitoes to effectively wipe out the malarial populations. So, a gay bomb.
Yeah, pretty much.
What was it again?
Sick!
No, that wasn't it.
Ridiculous!
Whatever.
Jesus, Tom.
I mean, I don't have it in front of me like you do, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is, the gay bomb.
There it is, the gay bomb. So,
Turn the friggin' frogs gay!
I mean, you know, couple this with the AI doing the genetic sequencing, or not sequencing. What's going on over there?
Spam.
And the other thing, the
CRISPR,
whatever,
genetic modification.
Forget it. I lost my train of thought on that one.
It's cool. It happens, man. It happens. So, okay, bottom line. When you think of powers that the government just shouldn't have, I'm pretty sure the ability to wipe out a species is just, that's something I'm really not comfortable with that particular bunch of people being able to do.
This kind of goes back to the Project for a New American Century, man. Them neocon bastards rearing their head again. This is their policy showing up, what, 15 years later?
Bunch of eugenicist bastards.
And the Project for a New American Century, if you guys don't know, was a conservative think tank. It was a neoconservative. Yeah, conservative. You know, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, that whole crowd. And they put together a thing called Rebuilding America's Defenses. And it basically called for a 9/11 style attack. You know, or actually their words was Pearl Harbor. But you know, to get us ramped up in the war, they wanted us fighting simultaneous theater wars, you know, owning the air, and they also mentioned race-specific bioweapons.
Yes, they did.
Race-specific bioweapons. So here we are 15 years later, finding out that DARPA's just still funneling, dumping money into genetic extinction technologies.
Between 2008 and 2014, the U.S. government spent about $820 million on synthetic biology. Since 2012, most of this has come from DARPA and other military agencies. In an email reporting U.S. military organized conference in June, a U.S. government biologist noted that DARPA's biotechnology program manager, Renee, I don't even know how... Renee Smith said that the Safe Genes project's account was for $65 million, but then mentioned that with all the other support in the room, it was $100 million. A DARPA spokesman said that the figure was a liberal notional estimate that included researchers at the meeting funded by DARPA under related efforts. DARPA is not and should not be the only funder of gene editing research, but it is critical for the Department of Defense to defend its personnel and preserve military readiness by being able to wipe out all forms of life as we know it. He said. DARPA believes that a steep fall in the cost of gene editing toolkits has created a greater opportunity for hostile or rogue actors, such as DARPA, to experiment with the technology.
Such as DARPA. Man, there was one good thing that came out of all this that I saw,
What's that?
and it kind of goes,
They might actually be able to wipe out mosquitoes.
no, not that, just DARPA in general. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of good things that came out of it, but the quests that make homes to repair themselves.
You mean like Mind Wipe Prime?
It's like
That's the best thing I can think of that's coming out of DARPA.
So, what if you had a home that could repair itself? So, apparently, DARPA, the arm of the... Yes, we know what DARPA is. Launched a project last year to create new types of materials that have the structural abilities of traditional building materials, but the attributes of living systems. DARPA has a track record of helping invent the future. It laid the foundation for the internet and self-driving vehicles. The organization points to the advantages of biological materials such as coral, bark, and even skin. They can be grown in many places, repair themselves, and respond to their environment. The best steel or concrete in a skyscraper scraper can't compete with those abilities. Something interesting, though, that you never really hear about in whistleblower testimony is all the ships and everything seem to be, you know, solid metal and stuff. You know, you don't really hear about organic type of technology like that.
But when something gets a hole blown in it, it puts itself back together.
True that. So I mean, I guess that's good thing that can come out of all this damn warmongering is
Some technology
that'll actually help people
houses
instead of
and
destroy shit.
spacesuits and vehicles that repair themselves.
So a positive note. I'm not going to say thank you, DARPA, because no. But yeah.
Because taxation is theft. And everything that DARPA does is pretty much funded by theft. $820 million on synthetic biology. Goddamn.
$820 million.
On synthetic biology.
It's insane,
yes,
man.
sir.
It's insane. So what else we got? We got
about 20 minutes left until the top of the hour, so I was thinking
here's something weird that popped up, man.
let's do some weird stuff. What kind of weird stuff?
This
we
was
got?
kind of
The
strange,
Skromet?
man. And you know, I have never ever heard of some shit like this. The Skromet,
The Skromet.
right? Mysterious
The Skromet comet.
mysterious condition dubbed skrometing hits weed smokers across the U.S. and causes them to vomit and scream. What the you ever heard anything like this in your life, man?
No, sir.
Like,
This is some reefer madness bullshit right here.
It is, man. This felt like a propaganda piece to me, but who knows, man? Maybe there's some tainted weed going around. So, skrometing is becoming an all too familiar sight at emergency rooms. Boing! There's your tip-off number one right there. It's a propaganda piece. The condition, called cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, is not yet properly understood. Medical experts believe the symptoms appear from individuals using or consuming heavy amounts of marijuana over a long period of time. Doctors note that the condition could stem from the body being oversaturated by cannabinoids, affecting the hypothalamus. Dr. Amy Mullen said she had seen a rise in cases since California legalized recreational marijuana last November. So what? She went from like 1 to 2? I mean, what? Has anybody out there ever heard of skrometing? I mean, come on, guys. If you have, give us a call.
That doesn't sound like that term really matches like screaming and vomiting, but it just sounds like you're vomiting on your balls.
Like, look, seriously, if you have ever experienced skrometing or know someone who has experienced skrometing,
you should
or
call
have
us right
even
now.
ever heard of this shit, give us a call.
757-528-8130.
There it is up on the screen for you. Man, it's just... But moving on. Chronic cannabis users are at risk of experiencing a horrifying new condition. Okay, here's another thing. People smoked weed before it was legal. In just the same amount of quantities. Why all of a sudden is it a new condition? Like, why wouldn't this have come up in the past? I mean...
I've screamed out for death. Chalfonte Lene Queen, 48, told NPR after experiencing this terrifying illness. Yeah, are you sure that wasn't just NUI? I've cried out
Oh
for
my
my mom,
God.
who's been dead for 20 years, mentally not realizing that she can't come to me. Now, okay, I could see. Well, okay, what was that one thing we were talking about earlier when the government was poisoning the weed?
Oh, paraquat.
Paraquat. This could be some paraquat type shit.
Yeah, man. It could very well
Because
be.
it's obviously not weed doing this.
No,
It's,
it's not, man.
it's got to be
Scrum.
some horrible stuff that some
Scrum.
shadowy government agency is poisoning people's shit with.
Oh my God, dude. It's just so ridiculous, man. Screaming and vomiting. Like, oh boy. So little research. Here we go. Little research has been
Cyclical
conducted on the
vomiting system.
topic, but one study found that for scromining to occur, cannabis users would have to consume marijuana 3 to 5 times per day to develop CHS. Man, I call bullshit on this
Like,
whole
how
story,
much?
dude.
Like,
This story is total bullshit, man. Scromining. In one study, the average duration of cannabis use prior to onset of recurrent vomiting was 3.4 years. The National Center for Biotechnology Information report added. The syndrome was first described in 2004 by Allen and colleagues and is characterized by chronic cannabis use, cyclic episodes of nausea and vomiting, and the learned behavior of hot bathing. What? Yo, if you
mean
take a hot
hot
bath,
boxing?
you better watch out because you might start scromining. The buildup of the cannabinoids, doctors believe, affect the function of the hypothalamus, which regulates digestion and body temperature. In Colorado, Dr. Keenan Hurd, an emergency physician at the University of Colorado in Aurora, said they are diagnosing more cases. However, he doesn't believe cases increased after the recreational use was legalized, because chronic users probably already had medical marijuana cards.
does that count as a double entendre? Chronic users being used in that instance right there. Does it?
I mean,
is
that's also it's kind of ironic, isn't it? According to the NCBI, often mistakenly called cyclical vomiting syndrome, cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome is a rare form of cannabinoid toxicity that develops in chronic smokers. I mean, maybe there's some small genetic mutation or something like that causes this to happen, but I can tell you that I've know quite a few people who have
smoked a
consumed
whole
way
shitload
more,
of weed.
consumed way more marijuana than what they're saying you need to over a very long extended period of time, and they don't scrom it. Never scrommed it. Never even heard of scromming.
But you never know. Stay tuned. We're kind of a one-stop shop for scromming.
Hey man, who knows, man? That might be the next thing. Scromming.
Reality Brief, your show for scromming.
All the screaming and vomit you can handle.
So you know what makes me want to scrom it?
What's that?
And this actually makes me laugh so hard that I want to scrom it, and I'm nominating this as our laugh of the week. The Federal Reserve has come out and condemned Bitcoin for not being backed by anything. Think about that for a sec. The Federal Reserve is trashing Bitcoin because it's not backed by anything.
It's like Legos trashing Mega Blocks for being made out of plastic. Oh, you can't get the Mega Blocks. They're totally made out of plastic.
Well, it's like it's like flies giving dung beetles a hard time over eating shit. Like, okay, Jeff Tucker, who's a very nice man, wrote this. He says that Randall K. Quarles, a Trump administration appointee to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors and Vice Chair for Bank Supervision, has given a lengthy speech, thoughts on prudent innovation in the payment system that directly targets Bitcoin as a danger to the monetary and financial system. To reiterate, an official speaking for the nation's central bank that manages the global reserve currency, the institution that has long bragged about its power to bail out the entire world with magical powers of the alchemist, has put down Bitcoin for being untrustworthy, unbacked, and unsound. The timing here seems about right. Bitcoin was born, but only a small group of developers were really paying attention. Today, there are lines forming at Bitcoin ATMs around the country as people scramble to convert their cash to digital money, even at absurdly high premiums. So Quarles' criticism of Bitcoin is that the currency or asset at the center of some of these systems is not backed by other secure assets, has no intrinsic value, and is not the liability of a regulated banking institution, and in leading cases is not the liability of any institution at all.
Let me get this straight.
Indeed,
the Fed is regulated.
This new asset is complicated. Yeah,
who regulates the Fed? They do.
Yeah, the Fed regulates the Fed.
It's like once every how many years? Like they get a group of like 3 people together and they go to the president and they're like,
takes
"Hey,
some balls."
They're like, "Hey, pick one of these guys." Okay, just one of the. They don't even get to appoint their own person to the head.
Well, Mr. Tucker goes on to mention how that a Fed official would denounce cryptocurrency as unbacked strikes me as the height of irony. The dollar was once backed by the secure asset of gold, but that system was finally abolished by Nixon in 1971, lighting up inflationary fires that lasted a full decade. Since then, the banking system has moved on from crisis to crisis, from the savings and loan debacle of the late 1980s to the near-death experience of the entire financial system in 2008. This is not an excellent track record. Quarles still raises questions about Bitcoin's soundness and survivability, saying, earlier in our history, the U.S. frequently witnessed bank runs that severely disrupted financial and economic activity, an example of what can happen when people lose faith in a payment system. Perhaps one that's $20 trillion in debt, something like that. In response, Congress ultimately introduced both the central bank and deposit insurance programs to help regulate fluctuations in the supply of liquidity in order to keep prices stable. Without the backing of a central bank asset and institutional support. There you go. It is not clear how a private digital currency at the center of a large-scale payment system would behave, or whether the payment system would be able to function in times of stress. No. So, this is absurd. I'm an absurdist at heart, and I'll always find that which is infinitely absurd to be infinitely amusing. And there really isn't enough laughter for this. Like, I can't even laugh. I'm just kind of agog that they would have the balls to come out and say something like, oh, well, the Federal Reserve has been working with the banking industry and a wide range of other payment system stakeholders to better understand the consequences of this state of affairs and support efforts to expand the available options through our payment system improvement initiative. For example, based on recommendations from the industry, the Federal Reserve is currently studying potential improvements in its settlement services, a traditional core function of a central bank that could address the future need of a ubiquitous real-time retail payments environment. Jeff Tucker says, this potential improvement in settlement services has a name, blockchain. I say to the Fed, you didn't create that. The entire rationale behind the Fed relies fundamentally on monopoly. End that, and you end it entirely. This is what Quarles knows, and so do crypto holders, who together now control $350 billion worth of wealth, and this is just the beginning. And you know what? The fact that you can create wealth, that's one thing that pisses me off the most about leftists is how they'll sit around and complain about their slice of the pie when they don't realize you can make the pie as big as you fucking want. Speaking of leftists on California fires, all right.
Check this out, guys. This is a little video of what's going on in California right now.
Thanks to DARPA AIs.
I mean, it's just incredible, dude.
Look at all this economic stimulus. Holy crap.
Man, could you imagine? Could you imagine being in one of them cars? Like, you would have to pull over and, like, look at it. Like, just admire it, right? I mean, fuck, I'd probably die from that just staring at it. It's incredible.
Well, and, where there's smoke, there's fire. And when they come out and, start talking about Bitcoin, all this talk about Bitcoin, meanwhile, Coinbase has been ordered to give the IRS data on users trading more than $20,000. So, they've basically ruled that Bitcoin is an asset now, right? Mm-hmm. how exactly they can enforce, who has which bitcoins. If you keep them in a private wallet that's not online, nobody knows you have them. So enforceability is going to be kind of tough there. But here we go. Most digital currencies exist in a sort of twilight state just beyond the grasp of federal regulators, but the U.S. tax authority is starting to get savvy to this whole Bitcoin thing. On Wednesday, a federal judge in San Francisco ruled that Coinbase must supply the IRS with identifying information on users who had more than $20,000 in annual transactions on its platform between 2013 and 2015. After noticing that the number of tax returns claiming gains from virtual currency didn't line up with the emerging popularity of digital currencies like Bitcoin as an investment vehicle, the IRS asked Coinbase to hand over a broad swath of information on its users. Coinbase pushed back, and now the court has landed on a compromise that the company is calling a partial victory.
Shit, man. How about
Which
Bitcoin
means
almost
a partial loss, too.
How about Bitcoin almost $13,000 a day, man?
I know, right?
Holy God, dude.
So Coinbase itself admits that the narrowed summons requests information regarding 8.9 million Coinbase transactions and 14,355 Coinbase account holders. That only 800 to 900 taxpayers reported gains related to Bitcoin in each of the relevant years, and that more of the 14,000 Coinbase users have either bought, sold, sent, or received at least $20,000 worth of Bitcoin in a given year suggests that many Coinbase users may not be reporting their Bitcoin gains, the court documents read. So, the tax man is not dicking around to come get his piece.
Well, we're hitting at the end of the hour here, so we're gonna jump the break real quick, and when we get back, we've got
UFOs.
Oh, we got tons of UFO stuff. We got a bunch of exo-news stuff to go over.
Space stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be
a blast.
It's
I'm
gonna
psyched.
be a super blast with Nazi spaceships.
It's gonna be more fun than ending the Fed. Well, not really, but could be.
We can try, though, right? We can try. See you on the other side, guys.
They would listen, thought they beneath us. If I'd known, I'd save the heartache for another life. If I'd known, I'd make the promise to myself. If I'd known, I'd see the fire for what it really was. If I'd known.
Daughter of Saturn, virgin mother of virtue, villainous animals will seek out and hurt you, distort you and twist you and misrepresent you. Your elegant innocence has transformed you into a definite target of manipulations and greedy ravagings that blunder your purity, spoil your seed, shadow you under scrutiny, or hide you entirely from consensus reality.
Veritas, one and only. Veritas, our own. Veritas, we will find you. We will know you. We will own you.
Seeking her endlessly, she's ever elusive. Further and further now, your source gets diluted, and the well is always deeper. How deep can you dive? How deep is your need to stare the truth in the eye? The truth is that you hide from her. You are vulnerable as you lied to yourself. You are pitiable as you do.
Veritas, one and only. Veritas, our own. Veritas, we will find you.
we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you guys out there, but every time we take a break, it makes me want to scrum it.
In space, no one can hear you scrum it.
Welcome back for Hour 2 Reality Brief, guys. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. We have a terrible time doing it. A terrible good time. I'll take this moment here to let you guys know about December 16th.
It's going to be awesome.
December 16th, we're having a mega show. We've got 12 hours of live broadcast ready to go
All
in
day.
your face all day.
No holes barred.
We're doing this because we're hoping that you may, in fact, donate some money to our Patreon account.
And
so we can get some hardware upgrades.
You know, my birthday is coming up December 20th, so if you guys really want to give me anything for my birthday, if anybody likes me that much, stop on by our Patreon, patreon.com/realitybrief. Consider giving us 50 cents, maybe a buck. Not much.
So it's going to be a great time, actually, man. We've got 3 round tables set up, 2 of them concerning magic and mystical arts. One with the Secret Space Program. We'll have Tony Rodriguez on, and he'll be joined by Kevin Trimmel, who's never been on the show before, so it'll be his first time, but they're going to do a roundtable. We're going to have Kevin back in the future once we get our machines upgraded. We're going to be able to do a lot of cool video roundtable live stuff. Like, it's one thing to do it pre-recorded. I could probably do it easily pre-recorded, but to actual broadcast, it takes quite a bit of computing power, so that's what we're working towards. Hopefully you guys might be able to help us out. If not, we're going to keep pushing forward like we always are, and we would like to thank our Patreon subscribers that do subscribe now. Thanks,
it means
guys.
a lot, guys. Thank you.
You helping us out. So, all that said.
We will not
Oh, yeah,
the other thing
I wanted to say, man, is we actually...
Neither aliens nor space Nazis can stop us.
There's a local hot sauce manufacturer that is going to donate some hot sauces for us to give away to callers on the 16th as well. So,
An
you
extra
guys,
special thanks to Taste Fire. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, tune in, and obviously you're probably not going to be able to watch the whole 12 hours all day long, but tune in and out when you can.
To anybody who does, we salute you.
Whew, it's rough enough doing it. I can only imagine watching it.
Maybe listening. Like, I could understand having it playing in the background for 12 hours.
So, we've got plenty of UFO stories, as promised. New stuff popping up weekly. Let's see what we can find. One thing, before we get to that, though, one thing I found kind of interesting is, if you're watching the show, you're probably familiar with the topic of exopolitics. There's a Turkish university getting ready to offer exopolitics courses.
Hey, that's cool.
It's pretty crazy, man. So, a research center at Akdeniz University in the Mediterranean province has included ufology and exopolitics in its latest curriculum in a bid to prepare for possible contact with visitors from outer space. And it's interesting because Turkey...
now all we got to do is learn Turkish. We got jobs, yo.
Well, man, Turkey... There was all that stuff happening. Remember the Turkish UFO invasion, all that stuff happening in there. You got Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. People say that Turkey was the actual first landing site of the Anunnaki, or whatever you want to call them.
I believe it.
So it's pretty interesting. So the tutor of the class and deputy chair of the Serious UFO Space Scientists Research Center told the Dogon News Agency that humankind can make contact with extraterrestrial beings within 10 or 15 years. We believe representatives from the world and extraterrestrial civilizations will soon be making official contact with each other. We think that they will be in an open and mass contact. I mean, that's crazy, man. I would say I would have to be hesitant to trust anything that would come out of that, because why all of a sudden now? Nothing's changed.
Don't get on the ships.
It hasn't gotten better on the planet. We still are killing each other. We're not living in harmony with nature or whatever. Isn't that what they said they wanted us to do? Mm-hmm. If you buy into that camp of idea.
Or at least chill out with all the nuclear shit.
So, there you go. I mean, that's kind of legitimizing it a bit. You know what I mean? An actual college, university.
Mm-hmm. We believe representatives from the world and extraterrestrial civilizations will soon be making official contact with each other. We think they will be in open and mass contact, Kolbasi said.
Kilbasi?
Kolbasi. That's this
Kilbasi.
guy's name. He also claimed that a shady group named MJ12 has been suppressing the spread of knowledge on extraterrestrial beings in order to protect the national interests of the U.S. Fiber optic cables, microchips, night vision technology, and bulletproof clothes have also been produced due to information gathered from the analyses of crashed UFOs, he suggested.
So, the people that take this class are going to get ridiculed so badly, man. I can already see it.
Well,
So what you major in? Batshittery?
If you happen to take one of these classes, give us a call, 757-528-8130.
We'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts on that. Oh, darn.
So, what's this?
Alien space. Boffins.
What is that? Make it stop.
That's,
Ah.
so... The discovery recorded on VHF transmitter and received on December 2nd in Washington, D.C. apparently proves an incoming object is heading for the Earth. A system appears to identify something of serious magnitude moving slowly into our atmosphere, which is why the signal continues for some time.
I think that activated my MK Ultra trigger.
Uploading the clip to YouTube channel BP Earthwatch, the self-proclaimed space boffin has revealed that there is no way it could have been sporadic E, a false signal they found only in summer months. So the operator of the channel claims that the object was not something that he is used to seeing and had no idea what it could possibly be. But he speculates that the radar echo heard might have been down to the launch of a rocket or UFO. He said something was coming in. It was very large, and it was taking its time coming in. This is different to anything I've seen before. Did you hear the breathing? Something was not normal. I'm sure what it was. I'm not sure what it was. Someone said it could be a rocket launch. Could it be a UFO? There are no meteors that large that would come into Earth with a signal that would last that long. I'm not sure what it was. Some users seemed particularly concerned and suggested we should prepare for the worst. So guess I should order a badass pizza and hit the liquor store one last time. Maybe
like a
hit
plan.
up this hot neighbor to curl up with, play some tunes, and welcome death, one said. Why would you put that... Whilst others laughed off the claim, saying, "It's Jesus. Look busy." Ja, 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 ja. This comes just days after a suspected spaceship was spotted on the moon, and an apparent UFO was seen in Russia. And just today, NASA scientists were left stunned by an astonishing Death Planet discovery. You know what? I didn't see that before. Let's check out the Death Planet discovery, guys.
Yo, where do I get my ticket?
NASA in uproar over stunning Death Planet discovery.
Don't you love these clickbait titles?
NASA
Hi, I'm Jim Green.
Hi.
Director of Planetary Science.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Shut up now. NASA experts have been left baffled by the discovery of an astonishing new planet that defies all explanations.
Or expectations.
Oh, my bad. It sounded better with explanations. BOF have dubbed WASP 18b, 325 light years away from Earth, Death Planet, due to its hellish atmosphere that has never been encountered before.
Yo, total clickbait. Another hot Jupiter. Whoop-de-doo. This one's covered in carbon monoxide, so it's even more of a shithole than every other 1,200-degree giant hot ball of gas that we found so far.
Aren't you guys glad you tuned in tonight for Reality Brief so we can show you the newest clickbait? So, one last time, I just... So there it is coming in. I'm sorry, guys. I'll turn it down a little bit there. Stop it. Murder. 30 minutes later.
For the heads up. This is normal. You're seeing meteors or objects hitting the upper atmosphere of our planet. This is picked up as an ionization trail, and that's what we're seeing. What you saw earlier was very different. Something that was coming in, it was very large, and it took a long time to come in. Now,
So, I mean, we could speculate on what that could be all day long. I mean, could very well be human experimental craft. Could be some type of secret space program asset, possibly ET.
A cloak ship.
Cloak ship, maybe. Now, you've heard about the organisms that live in space that people talk about, right?
Yeah. Like
Maybe it's something like that.
Like a giant space jellyfish of some
Like
kind?
a space whale or whatever.
Space whale.
Space whale. So, they talked about this Russian triangle sighting, which is what we're going to get on next.
Mm-hmm.
So, apparently this just happened a couple days ago.
Trebs over Russia?
Yeah, December 4th. Updated December 4th. Okay. Conspiracy theorists claim to have spotted a black triangle flying over Russia this week.
Well, you know how it was in Russia because it flew over and it went.
They claim it's the best evidence for extraterrestrials ever recorded. Now, okay. How is that evidence for extraterrestrials? You see a light in the sky, it doesn't mean it's ET trying to phone home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A video shows the mysterious object flying through the night sky at a speed that conspiracy theorists claim is too slow to be an airplane. But not everyone is convinced that the object is a UFO, and some suggest it's likely to simply be a drone. Well, which today's day and age is always possible.
Yeah, that's a trip.
So there we go, have a regular blurry screenshot.
If you see that pattern of 3 lights, it's a treb.
Yeah, usually the drones have more than 3 rotors. I'm sure we have a drone enthusiast in the audience tonight that could chime in and let us know how many configurations you might see with 3 rotors.
And if you happen to be a drone enthusiast, our number is 757-528-8130. You should pick it up and dial it.
So the video titled, "A TR-3B type UFO was filmed in Russia. Best evidence ever," was posted on YouTube by UFO Today, a Belgium-based channel that regularly posts videos of alleged sightings. It shows an object flying through the night sky with 3 lights in a triangular configuration flickering on and off. That UFO Today suggests is a TR-3B UFO. And I mean, giving it the name TR-3B kind of, makes...
Guess what? It's not a UFO anymore.
Yeah,
You've
it's
already
been identified as a human-built craft if you're
Yeah.
calling it a TR-3B. So the video description UFO Today wrote, the object is moving at a very slow pace, too slow to be a classical airplane. The speed at which this object was moving is physically impossible for any kind of airplane built by man. The conspiracy theorist claims the sighting may be a black triangle UFO, a class of UFO with a distinctive triangular layout. So, here we go. Let's watch the full video, guys.
Oh, hey, we got a caller. All right.
Doop beep boop. Beep boop. Caller, you're live on the air with Don and Dan. Reality brief.
Really, just right live to the air. Still,
Right live to the air. We don't have no call screener, so people can call up and be like, "Oh, fuck yourself," all you want.
Yeah, you really can.
All right, well, I heard you guys talking about something earlier that I want to get to, but I did want to comment on this drone thing.
Mm-hmm.
But really, oh God, I'm sorry. I can't stop vomiting on my scrotum.
Oh man. So what can we do for you tonight, there, Scrometer?
Well, the thing with the drones is typically you'll see configurations with a even number of propellers, because every time you put a propeller on the body of the aircraft, it exerts a opposite force to the propeller. You understand? So you have 2 of them working in opposition, and you get stability. You have 4 of them that are, 2 going one way and 2 going the other way, and that in combination with a microcontroller, using sensors can balance much easier than just a single propeller.
Which explains also why the weapons platforms are rectangular instead of triangular.
Yeah, I mean, it's a characteristic of propeller-based flight that you're going to exert a pressure on, a torque on the aircraft body. So you typically don't see a 3 propeller configuration because of that, because it would be unstable. So it's not to say that you couldn't do it with, a triangular craft that had, a series of propellers, like an array of,
Right.
something like that. But typically you wouldn't see a simple drone with 3 propellers.
So in other words, it would have to be for a specific almost like purposely built to be a hoax, because there'd be no reason why you would want to try and build something that shape, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, it definitely wouldn't. It wouldn't be efficient. Yeah, you wouldn't build something, as a, unless, yeah, exactly, you were trying to emulate just a triangle. Now, that's not to say though that's just a configuration where you've got propellers on each point.
That kind of lends credence to the thinking that these, triangles are not indeed held aloft by propellers. They're held aloft by something else.
Sure. I mean, you still could, have a triangular-shaped device that was held aloft by propellers, just not necessarily with 3 at each point. Like you might see in a obvious, quick, easy hoax. You'd have to have a more complex configuration, but it is definitely possible for like a hoax to achieve that.
Yeah, you could have 3 drones with a single light flying in formation, I suppose.
You could tether them together.
Yeah. That would be a very Russian solution to things, just tie them together with ropes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, with like a more complex configuration where you've got like an array of propellers that's basically, they would be fighting against each other at that point, but it would be more stable than just building a simple drone. Is this a video of the thing? Do you guys have?
I'm playing the video right now. If you could see that on the YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're at.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That could be a fucking hot air balloon, dude. I mean, that could be flares taped together with PVC pipe and a fucking weather balloon, a hot air balloon.
Yeah,
or just a helium balloon with 3 LEDs.
That's the thing, man. I wish with these videos we would get more than just a 20-second, 30-second clip or whatever. It seems like to me, man, I don't know about you personally, but me, if I saw something like that, I'd be filming for as long as I could.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, the thing is, too, you got to think it's whoever filmed it's probably not in on the hoax. It could be. So you look at this, even having 2 flares here now visible. It's like one of them has gone out or something. I mean, you could send something like that out over a city, and people would film it and put it up on YouTube, and and they would be as genuine as you want.
Now, so what do we know about the TR-3B's descriptions? They said what, generally a white or bluish light that comes from the.
Yeah, that's been my impression.
That looks quite red.
But that could be the shitty color balance on the camera too.
That's true too. Yeah, take a look at the telephone pole there.
Yeah, because you got all that yellow light coming in from the street light.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like it's drifting.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet if you sped it up, it's just like aimlessly kind of just drifting. If you like sped the footage up. Goddamn Russians.
Yeah, no, it'd be an interesting thing to analyze a little further, I guess. I saw you chatting in the room earlier about the moon AI.
You're not getting any of my bitcoins. Oh yeah,
the moon AI thing, and that actually is becoming a a prevalent theory, man. It's not just your own personal pet theory.
Here's another one of my personal pet theories. Maybe we've just moved into the timeline where that makes sense, because that's what we believe after introduction of that theory.
Yeah. See, look, you shifted the timeline. What you're thinking?
Maybe I've shifted the timeline again with that timeline. The personal timeline shifting theory now is out there on the internet.
That's pretty rad, dude.
Unfiltered fucking calling.
Hey, speaking of time,
if there was only a way you can use that to save the universe.
I've experienced a really strange time phenomenon in the last couple days. And
what's that?
Okay, so I worked 3rd shift the last 2 nights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the night before last, it felt like we were 4-dimensional. Like it was one of those nights that just took forever. And it shouldn't have been. Like, it was relatively busy. Like, it felt like we were moving 4-dimensionally uphill, right? And then last night just flew by, and it shouldn't have. Last night should have been one of those nights that dragged out. and it didn't. So I'm thinking that we just went up and down some kind of 4-dimensional hill. And I know this sounds crazy, but like, you know, Einstein said that the topography of space-time was flat, right? But I think that's bullshit. I think that there are waves. I think that, you know, like if time-space is likened to an ocean, or if space-time is likened unto an ocean, then you're going to have waves on that ocean, right? And we've already shown, recently discovered with LIGO, that there are gravitational waves, right? Mm-hmm. So what if there are chronological waves, too? Mm-hmm. What if they're
I could
temporal
waves?
See that.
It seems to me like, you know, just events in my life will occur somewhat like that. Like I'll have periods of just months where it seems like just nothing really happens, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything happens all at once, you know, and then it's like time's flying by, and, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. We got this ancient, I gotta say ancient jest, but it's pretty interesting. UFO reported over Austin in 1897.
Wow, that's old school, huh?
What is it? Serenely sailing over the blessed Lone Star State. So, Bob Ward of the Travis County Historical Commission drew our attention to this airborne mystery. We're not fingering aliens, but the report...
I'm down.
I hope not. But the report...
I'm down. Yeah.
Someone out there now is fingering. But the report fit the definition of an unidentified flying object. April 8th, I don't like where this show is going. April 18th, 1897. Headlines in the Austin Daily Statesman shouted, "Strange and startling. What is it? Serenely sailing over the blessed Lone Star State." So that was like the equivalent of a tweet in 1897. One man in Sherman saw an oval-shaped object pass over the moon. The same night, a railroad conductor and his wife saw a strange object over Fort Worth. More sightings were made in Hillsborough, Marshall, and Paris, as well as points in Oklahoma and Louisiana. Some observers said the airship swept searchlights over the land.
You remember us talking about the German aero clubs?
But look, it was an oval. It was an oval shaped. Look, this is 1897. What if it was like a Black Ops Zeppelin?
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You know what I mean? It was like
hot air balloon.
Yeah, I mean,
it
that's
could have
prime
been
time for them, you know.
It could have been a balloon. It could have been, you know, one of the German arrows.
You know what it probably was Russians with a bunch of PVC tubes taped together.
Yes, Russian hackers.
And a fan motor.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So, I mean, pretty interesting that...
The vodka-powered airship.
I guess that was newsworthy even back then.
Yeah, so this they say it was 6 years before the Wright brothers took off from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. 50 years before the Roswell crash. People were still talking about the airship by April 25, 1897, when an Austin alderman stated that he believed it was a fake meant to hurt railroad business. Confusingly, he also brought up rain-making machines and divers who jumped from a lake into a high tower. Now, who was the fellow that did all that?
Wait a minute. What did you just say?
He brought up rain-making machines and divers who jumped into a lake from a high tower. So,
I thought you said that backwards. Jumped into a tower from a lake or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But,
I'm gonna go. I've been scromming too much.
Yeah,
all right,
I gotta
man.
go.
Take care of
I gotta
yourself.
go re-up before I.
Don't scrum it too hard.
Take it easy, Scrub.
So, in April 15th, 2016 story, in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, reached back to revive the tale of this airship that crashed into a windmill, killing a spaceman in the North Texas town of Aurora. We've talked about this before, on April 17th, 1897. In other words, before the Austin sighting. So there was the Aurora alien encounter with talks and shuttle. They celebrated this with talks and shuttle tours and all this historical stuff. But they ultimately concluded that they found bits of metal, but tests on the material remained inconclusive. So, were they UFOs? Were they time travelers? Who knows?
We got another one here, kind of in the same vein. First contact. The woman who claimed in 1894 she visited Mars and spoke to aliens. Pretty heavy there, man. Helena Smith from Switzerland first began to claim she had contact with aliens while aged 33 in 1894. The French national, whose real name was Catherine Elise Muller, claimed for the next 5 years to actually visit Mars and communicate with aliens there while having visions after going into a trance-like state. So, like, she was remote viewing Mars.
Yeah.
The French national... Okay, the idea that aliens existed on other worlds whose date back as far as least as the 4th century BC. By the 1750s, most educated people across Europe accepted there were extraterrestrials out there. And by the 19th century, many people thought there was intelligent life on Mars, Venus, and the Moon. And then NASA came along and said no. However, Mrs. Smith, who claimed to be a medium, is believed to be one of the first people on record to claim to have so-called contact with aliens. Mrs. Smith even sketched drawings of the beings she met and the landscape she visited. She became known as the Muse of Automatic Writing by Surrealists. She also claimed to be a reincarnation of a Hindu princess and Marie Antoinette. Miss Smith used to write out alleged Martian speech on the paper and translate it into French, a form of automatic writing. She was studied by Theodore Flournoy, a professor of psychology at the University of Geneva, who published the book Des Indes From India to the Planet Mars in 1899.
Well, you got to think, at least translating Martian speech isn't that hard because all they say is,
"Don't run, we are your friends." It featured her paintings of Martian landscapes and documented her experiences on Mars. In 1900, well, they changed their mind real quick. In 1900, a wealthy American spiritualist called Mrs. Jackson hired Mrs. Smith to continue documenting her experiences. Although Professor Flournoy and Mrs. Smith had been close, he later claimed that she was just having infantile imaginings and her Martian language was invented. He said he had a strong resemblance to French, and her automatic writing was from romances of the subliminal imagination, including memories of childhood books. It was scromance. Scromance. Psychologist Leonard Zusny and Warren Jones later studied the case. They concluded Flournoy was able to show her Martian language was an artful fabrication, although it sounded decidedly foreign. Frequency analysis of words and letters and an examination of the syntax convinced Flournoy that the language had all basic structural characteristics of French, her native tongue.
so it wasn't that far out.
In a subsequent investigation, they reported that the source of a short phrase that she had written in Arabic during her Indian cycle probably came from having seen an identical phrase inscribed in a book owned by a Genevan physician. She had retained a visual image of the script, and in due time, copied it from memory in an uncertain hand. In 1952, psychologist Donovan Rawcliffe also examined the case and said Mrs. Smith, who died in Geneva aged 67, suffered from a fantasy-prone personality and hysterical hallucinations. Did she, though? Did she? And
sounds
can you
like
trust that guy's word for it, too?
No, that guy's a shill.
Yep. Probably was giving her electroshock.
Yep. Probably some black operative government goon. Because, I mean, when it comes to abusing the psychological profession, that is one thing the government actually does pretty well.
Speaking about...
In fact, we could do a whole show on the historical abuse of the psychological profession and governments twisting it to their own ends.
Speaking of government goons...
Maybe we will.
Did the Mirage Men, did the CIA create UFO double bluff to mask new technology? And this is something that we considered a great length on the show. For 4 decades of the CIA, the National Security Agency, and the U.S. Air Force were behind a concerted effort to fool Americans that UFOs really did exist in order to mask new technology, which the Pentagon did not want anybody knowing about, according to a new book.
Bastards.
Mark Pilkington, a British writer who has researched the subject extensively and contributed to a book called The Mysterium, told Sputnik the strategy was led by mysterious figures he dubs the Mirage Men. He said a classic example was the Roswell incident in 1947. Mirage Men exploited the Roswell incident. On July 8, 1947, the U.S. Forces 509 bomb group put out a press release that Army personnel had recovered a flying disc, which had crashed on a ranch near the Roswell Air Base in New Mexico. In the early 50s, the U.S. military was testing a lot of new technologies, and it was convenient to disguise them as UFOs. It was a double bluff. The U-2 spy plane passed off as a UFO. And one of the new aircraft that needed to be disguised was the U-2. In April 60, one of the planes flying at high altitude was shot down over the Soviet Union, and the CIA pilot, Gary Powers, was taken into captivity and eventually exchanged for a KGB agent in Berlin. Berlin. But in the 50s, nobody even knew of the U-2's existence. Now, I'm not going to go on and on with this, but it seems to me that it's probably a little of both, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, how do you know which to trust?
I could see
I
them
definitely don't trust the CIA. So.
Using, people see something in the sky, just think about all the stories and stuff that we read on the show, and every single one of them is like, "That's AT phoning home."
Well, if the CIA tells me it's a double bluff, I automatically assume it's a triple bluff.
It's a quadruple bluff.
So this guy brings up Project Silverbug. He says another famous craft was the Evrakar flying saucer, a top-secret operation known as Project Silverbug. UFO mythology served as a convenient cover, said Mr. Pilkington, who had discovered that key executives from the media and Hollywood, including film mogul Daryl Zanuck and Time Life CEO Henry Luce, were involved in something called the Psychological Strategy Board, which was behind the promulgation of the UFO myth. I'm not sure quite how to take that. Mr. Pilkington said the history of UFOs was intrinsically linked to the Cold War. Of the earliest and most famous sightings near Mount Rainier, Washington State, in 1947 was by Kenneth Arnold, a U.S. aviator and businessman. He described seeing 9 saucer-like objects hovering in the sky. So, all this UFO stuff went on through the Cold War. In the 1980s, similar subterfuge was used to conceal the development of the stealth bomber, which is officially known to Northrop Grumman as the B-2 Spirit. So, they're basically trying to say in this article that they've been, covering up UFOs by saying that they're government craft and covering up government craft by saying that they're UFOs. Mm-hmm. The CIA will never admit to it. There's no smoking gun that the CIA is ever going to admit to, but there is a large amount of circumstantial evidence. And about 10 years ago, from the CIA's own in-house magazine, carried a piece about the link between the U-2 and UFOs. Mr. Pilkington told Sputnik, adding that he did not expect them to reveal their UFO files in the same way they recently released papers on the JFK assassination. The CIA, while refusing to confirm that it was behind the Mirage Men, admitted in 2007 that the UFO craze had gotten out of hand in the 1950s.
Now, you guys remember a while back we were talking about those diplomats in Cuba they were saying they were getting attacked with some kind of sonic weapon or some crazy shit like that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got a little bit of an update for that. Brain abnormalities found in victims of U.S. embassy attack in Cuba. Mysterious attacks that harmed 24 Americans in Havana have resulted in changes to the white matter tracts in the brain.
Interesting.
Doctors treating the victims of mysterious invisible attacks on the U.S. Embassy in Cuba have discovered brain abnormalities as they search for clues to explain the damage to their hearing, vision, balance, and memory. The most specific findings to date about physical damage from the attack shows that whatever it was that harmed the Americans, it led to perceptible changes in their brains. It's one of several factors fueling growing skepticism that some kind of sonic weapon was involved. Medical testing has revealed the embassy workers developed changes to the white matter tracts that let different parts of the brain communicate, several U.S. officials said, describing a growing consensus held by university and government physicians researching the attacks. White matter acts like information highways between brain cells. Loud, mysterious sounds followed by hearing loss and ear ringing had led to investigators to suspect sonic attacks, but officials are now avoiding that term. The sounds may have been the byproduct of something else that caused damage, said 3 U.S. officials briefed on the investigation. Physicians, FBI investigators, and U.S. intelligence agencies have spent months trying to piece together the puzzle in Havana, where the U.S. says 24 government officials and spouses fell ill, starting last year in homes and later in some hotels. The U.S. refers to specific attacks, but says it does not know who is behind them. A few Canadian embassy staffers also got sick. Doctors still do not know how the victims ended up with the white matter changes or how exactly those changes might relate to their symptoms. U.S. officials would not say whether the changes were found in all 24 patients. Acoustic waves have never been shown to alter the brain's white matter tracks. I would be very surprised.
And if they did, we wouldn't tell you all about it.
We never see white matter track problems in freak medicine. Cuba has denied involvement and calls the Trump administration's claims that the U.S. workers were attacked deliberate lies. No, you don't say. The new medical details may help the U.S. counter Havana's complaint that Washington has not presented any evidence. All right, so...
Well, if there is
let's think
anybody
about
doing
this
that,
here,
I
man.
don't think it's actually the Cubans, for one thing.
What? So essentially, these people have had their brain rewired. All right. So what would be the purpose? I mean, just to fuck them up, or
MK
could
Ultra.
there be a different purpose for this?
Brainwashing.
Yeah, but what was?
Subliminal programming,
You think
maybe?
you think maybe the Cubans were trying to brainwash them?
No, I don't think the Cubans are. I think it's a convenient point for somebody else to come in and target them, like the Iranians or the North Koreans.
Maybe it was a test.
Could have been.
It was, obviously, the U.S. government is known to attack its own citizens all the damn time.
Yeah, that would be my first suspect, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the fact that it's in the Cuban embassy means it's a perfect place for some shit to pop off, so they have plausible deniability.
What if it was something a little more sinister too, like
Energy-based brain parasites taking people over?
something like that?
Or maybe something like travelers, people coming back from the future and overriding the
Interdimensional
personalities
beings,
of
interdimensional
people
beings,
walking around on Earth now.
Interdimensional beings rewiring the brains of people so they could, take them over like a parasite.
Or time travelers taking over from the future, taking over people's brains to make changes now that will affect the future, to change the future that they're in. The implications are unsettling, folks. Never know. But
like, what type of weapon?
I know white matter changes in the brain can be very scary and cause some very erratic behavior.
It's pretty wild, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's a weapon that does that.
That changes your brain chemistry and makes you all weird. Who knows? Well,
You get shot with some kind of ultrasonic weapon that just rewires your brain.
yeah, it could completely
crazy, man.
reshape your psyche. And speaking of psyches, we talked about earlier how Bitcoin is seen as a huge threat to the dollar and the world economy. Well, there's also an asteroid out there that, according to some people, presents quite a threat to the world economy. NASA admits that there's an
This
asteroid
incredibly
worth
looking asteroid
10,000
that also has one of the coolest
quadrillion
names
dollars.
out there. This is 16 Psyche.
So yeah, this is 16 Psyche, or simply known as Psyche, is about 252 kilometers, 156 miles wide. It's part of the asteroid belt, not the biggest thing out there. That would of course be Sirius. Shout out to our buddies at Sirius Station. How you doing? The U.S. Space Agency has now fast-forwarded its plans to send a rocket to the asteroid, bringing it forward to 2022. Psyche is made almost entirely of nickel and iron, which are the same materials as Earth's core. This, as well as its sheer size, has led experts to believe that the asteroid is actually the remains of a planet.
Whoa.
Whoa, that is kind of a whoa, but you know what? Even if you took everything in the asteroid belt and scooped it back together, it wouldn't be much bigger than the moon.
So would all of it, if a planet was there and it exploded, all of it would still be there? It wouldn't form comets and meteors, and
a bunch of it would get thrown into the sun, a bunch of it would crash into other
water.
planets. So yeah, who knows? All of those things are possible, but the value of just the iron alone in this asteroid, if it were transported back to Earth, would be worth 10,000 quadrillion dollars, which is kind of hard for me to believe, knowing what how shitty scrapyard steel prices are these days.
Dude, you're talking about it's 156 miles, man.
That is pretty big.
Iron. That's a lot.
That's a lot of iron to scrap. Can you imagine hauling that into the yard?
I mean, what's the magnetic? That thing's got to be putting off a magnetic field like a mow.
Yeah, it does.
So
this would be enough to cause the world's economy, worth $73.7 trillion, to collapse altogether.
what? Nobody's got enough money to pay for the money.
Yeah, I know, right? I guess you could just turn it into money. The lead scientist of the NASA mission and director of Arizona State University's School of Earth and Space Science Exploration said, even if we grab a big metal piece and drag it back here, what would you do? Could you sit on it and hide it and control the global resource, kind of like diamonds are controlled corporately and protect your market? What if you decided you were going to bring it back and just going to solve the metal resource problems of humanity for all eternity? So I don't know. Yeah, it'd be cool to, I for one welcome the future of asteroid mining. I think that sounds pretty cool. To me, the idea of working an 8-hour workday, being sitting there mining asteroids, that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, I guess.
They've been thinking about mining asteroids for a long time. Certainly longer than 37 years, but you know what it has been 37 years since?
What?
It's been 37 years since the last time Voyager 1 fired up its thrusters.
Oh, yeah.
And after 37 years without use, the thrusters of Voyager 1 this Wednesday were successfully fired up. The only human-made object in interstellar space currently, the fastest and farthest spacecraft, NASA's Voyager 1 has been flying for 40 years. It can still communicate with Earth. This spacecraft relies on small devices called thrusters to orient itself towards our planet, 13 billion miles away from Earth. These thrusters fire in tiny puffs or pulses lasting milliseconds, and these are able to rotate the spacecraft so its antenna points back at Earth. And these thrusters are still functional after 37 years of use. And because of that, they'll be able to extend the life of the Voyager 1 spacecraft by 2 or 3 years, said Suzanne Dodd, project manager for Voyager at NASA's JPL. NASA says that since 2014, engineers have noticed the thrusters Voyager 1 has been using to orient the spacecraft. They call them attitude control thrusters. They've been degrading, requiring more puffs to give off the same amount of energy. They've analyzed the options and predicted how the spacecraft would respond in different scenarios, so they decided on Tuesday, November 28th, Voyager engineers are going to fire up those 4 TCM thrusters for the first time in 37 years and tested their ability to orient the spacecraft using 10 millisecond pulses. And it worked.
And then they said the other one behind it, Voyager 2, when those thrusters fail, they're going to use the same method for that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, man. Another little interesting tidbit that came our way. Ancient human ancestor Littlefoot makes public debut.
Littlefoot,
from Johannesburg, South Africa. South Africa's cradle of humankind, an expanse of farmland and rolling hills outside Johannesburg, has already unlocked some of the great mysteries of evolution. The unveiling of a near-complete fossil hominid skeleton dating back 3.67 million years will only solidify the importance of this region. Littlefoot is the oldest fossil hominid skeleton ever found in southern Africa. The lead scientist examining the discovery said on Wednesday, the fossil skeleton takes its name from the small foot bones discovered by scientist Ron Clark in '94 when he was sorting through the bones in boxes from the Sterkofontein cave system. Even then, Clark surmised that fossilized bones came from Australopithecus species, the smallest ape-like human ancestors that roamed this part of Africa millions of years ago. So, yet again, another evolution of man being found here.
Well, there's probably a lot of time to cover.
A lot
of stuff we haven't found yet.
And this one is the oldest now.
So far. But
I bet they'll find more. They keep digging and digging, man.
Yep. Well, something else that's kind of old that was recently discovered, this blows my mind. We promised our audience Martian Cannonballs. UFO hunters say they found a cannonball on Mars. The only problem is it's tiny and definitely not a cannonball. No, we do not have proof that ancient Martians blew themselves to smithereens with cannonballs. But we did find a spherical object. It's a metal ball. It's perfectly formed and about the size of a softball here on Earth. That also matches the size of a cannonball. And you know what? I actually do have in my own possession a very small cannonball that I believe is a remnant from the Monitor and Merrimack battle.
Really?
That took place right here in the Chesapeake Bay. It's a solid ball of lead, and it looks like it was probably shot out of a cannon, very likely during the Monitor Merrimack battle. So, hey, cool. So this metal ball is perfectly formed, about the size of a softball here on Earth. Guess what? So there's this UFO hunter Scott C. Waring wrote this on the website of the UFO Sightings Daily. This is 100% evidence of a war on Mars. No, it's not. This project is sitting on the surface of above wrecked stone structures around it. Structures? Okay, we're going to need some proof there, buddy. Fragments of one civilization is scattered in tiny pieces around this cannonball. It's not always helpful to pay attention to conspiracy theories, but in this case, it's important to point out that the cannonball is nothing mysterious or unaccounted for by science. As NASA has explained in the past, these cannonballs are sedimentary rocks that have been rounded by a process called concretion. This involves minerals forming bubbles inside the rocks that lie underwater. Remember, there once was liquid water on Mars. And the sediment is soft enough that when the water dries, the rock is left at a perfectly spherical shape. So, and they're referring to these as blueberries.
Blueberries. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but yeah, I'm not seeing Cannonball either.
Yeah, I mean,
that picture to me does not scream ancient civilization.
No, just because it's something spherical does not mean that it was man-made.
Mm-hmm.
But it is cool. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Pretty NATOs.
So who knows what other wonders will be found on the red planet. As far as discovering wonders here on Earth goes, and this is coming from the perfect source for this sort of thing, Fox News. What is the best day to spot a UFO? As if there's a best day for such a thing. And they happen to mention the 4th of July. Hey, imagine that. Okay, all right, thanks, Fox. Yeah, you bastards. I can't. You know what? I'm not even touching that. Fuck all that.
So if you're looking to have a close encounter with the third kind, you might best be off doing it on the 4th of July.
Well, and if you want guaranteed contact with a reptilian life form, I recommend Hannity and Friends.
According to an op-ed in the Syracuse Times by UFO Sightings Desk Reference, co-author Cheryl Costa, the most popular day of the year for UFO sightings is Independence Day. It's unclear if this has any relation to the popular sci-fi movie of the name, but Costa suggested it may be due to more people being outside looking at fireworks. It may have something to do with fireworks everywhere.
You don't say.
Some say the reason is because many people misidentify July fireworks for UFOs. Costa wrote an op-ed. The other case is there are lots of people with leisure time outside in the dark waiting for fireworks displays. Lastly, and I hear this frequently, the UFOs seem to like the fireworks and tend to loiter near significant displays. Oh, yeah, man. So it's just E.T. checking out the fireworks, man.
Sad excuse for journalism that makes me want to scrum it.
Sick!
Scrub it!
Ridiculous!
Scrub it!
So, you know what? I don't even want to be on the same planet as something where that passes for news. Get me off of this planet. Take me to K218b.
I mean, we knew Fox News was bad, but really?
So where is this K218b, huh? Well, the Independent reports that they've just discovered a planet known as K218b. It's a super Earth that could host alien life, and it's got a neighbor too. It's only 11 light years away. It's been described as a potential super Earth, a large rocky planet with a potential to support life. Habitable zone, could have liquid water. It goes around a red dwarf, which apparently is pretty calm by red dwarf standards. It's 111 light years away in Leo.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Ross 128b, which is only 11 light years away.
Pretty kekalicious distance, if you ask me.
Yeah. Trips, dubs and trips.
Dubs and trips. Trip ones.
Trip ones.
I bet you there's somebody living there already.
I'll bet they have some awesome memes.
And they probably got weed so good it makes you scrum it.
They probably have weed so good it makes you go. So the researchers set out to find out whether or not K218b was rocky or gassy like Neptune. And they're using the High Accuracy Radial Velocity Planet Searcher, known as HARPS for short, to analyze K218b's atmosphere. And what they found is promising. They found the planet is probably rocky with a gaseous atmosphere. It may be a mostly water planet with a thick layer of ice. So, it could be icy too. It's too early to tell. But it's definitely in the star's habitable zone. So, we'll keep you posted for all the latest from K218b.
Woo!
This sounds like a fun place. And in terms of looking for new planets that could be habitable, ESO's got a new telescope called Espresso, and it begins its search for ET worlds around sun-like stars. So who knows? Maybe they'll find something. It's very much like HARPS, but it's like HARPS 2.0.
It's like harps or harp?
Yeah, a good question. Well, it says HARPS with an S and only one A. So
ain't no alien, play no harp.
But they use Echelle spectrographs, which take highly detailed measurements of the amount of different types of wavelengths of light coming from the stars and planets by sending red and blue light in opposite directions. That, in turn, lets scientists measure tiny wobbles in a star caused by its interaction with the planet's gravity. So,
wobbles.
The more we can see wobbles in a star. And speaking of that Ross 128b, apparently it's on its way towards us. The star that Ross 128b goes around is coming towards Earth. So, in a few 100,000 or million years or whatever.
Is it right by Venus?
No, nowhere close. But Espresso is designed to give the best possible look at quiet medium stars like our sun. So far, 500 planets have been spotted using this technique. While Espresso will be focused on its own finds, it will investigate possible exoplanets previously spotted by Kepler and other transit methods. So maybe it might give us more insight into fun places like Kepler 186f or Kepler 22b. Might be nice. Maybe we'll figure out what's going on there. Mm-hmm. See if they're worth stopping by and saying hello and possibly exchanging genetic information with them.
You just had to add that, right?
Hey, I mean that's what Star Trek's all about, right?
Right.
So speaking of things shaking and bumping, you heard we had actually had an earthquake in Delaware last week.
Really? How'd that go?
It was only a 4.1.
Oh, only a 4.1.
Yeah, pretty
no
whack.
Devastation. Now, I heard a report earlier, too, something interesting about some kind of major law enforcement event happening in D.C. right now.
Really?
Might not be nothing, but I'm going to check into it later and see if anything has developed. But that does bring us right to about the end of the show, so I would just like to take this moment to remind you guys out there listening, watching, December 16th, Saturday.
12-hour broadcast, all-day extravaganza. It's going to be lit.
10 a.m. to 10 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, the usual channels, guys. Check it out. It's going to be great. Jam-packed. Round tables. Plenty of guests. Like I said, we got 3 round tables. We've got 6 other people speaking individually. It's going to be a good time. We got tarot card readings going on. We're going to have all kinds of little surprises. A few different co-hosts dropping in and out throughout the day. Obviously, your calls, prizes, you name it. It's going to be great. It's going to be like
hot sauce.
It's going to be like the Jerry Lewis marathon of the UFO community. So check it out. But that concludes this broadcast, and we will see you guys again next week for another smashing edition of Reality Brief.
Have a great week, everybody. Be safe out there. Watch out for space Nazis.